Good morning, everyone. Rise and shine. It's the morning meeting. Sean, Spicer, Dan Turrentine, and I are here for you, as we are pretty much every weekday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, to walk you through the day. This program is based on the Network News Division's morning meetings, where they gather their bureaus from around the world to give the day ahead with a relentless focus on what happens next. We provide news, analysis, information, the day book itself, and then we kick things around. And then, as I often say, with peace, love, and understanding, the little O. Henry twist, we take your questions. If you're here on the two-way platform, please raise your hand. Today is a day when we'd like 3 new people. So if you're here and you've never raised your hand, please do it. As you also know, we don't like smack in the chat, this chat here on the two-way platform, but we don't much like it in the Yahoo or Snapchat or AOL, wherever, Friendster, wherever you're
MySpace,
watching.
look, we have to have a place
Napster.
you can do chat, and
No
I think MySpace is fair game.
No smack in any of it. And that goes to you folks watching on YouTube. Just no smack in the chat. It's pretty simple. Anyway, guys, we're going to start with an homage to someone of great cultural significance to many. I'm interested in your reminiscences, appraisals, homages to the great Ozzy Osbourne, who appeared during the Bush years at a White House Correspondents' Dinner and acknowledged by the President of the United States, did something I don't recall any other dignitary ever doing. Ladies and gentlemen, Ozzy Osbourne at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Washington power brokers, celebrities, Hollywood stars, Ozzy Osbourne. Okay, Ozzy.
Got up on the table. I've been to many White House Correspondents' Dinners, not in a long time, but when I used to go, I've only heard gasps twice that I recall. Once was when Imus told some jokes about Bill Clinton that made people gasp. And when Ozzy stood up on the table, I heard gasps. Sean, your reflections on the loss of Ozzy Osbourne.
I remember a couple times when we were traveling through Europe on tour, and wait, that never happened. No, I love the guy, his transitions in life, the way that he was able to do what he did with Black Sabbath, go out on an independent career, resurrect himself, and then remake himself on reality television. So I wish Sharon and Jack and I'm trying to remember what
the daughter's name.
The daughter. Yeah. Oh my God,
Kelly?
that should have been
Kelly.
No, oh my God,
Kelly.
Yeah, my apologies. But anyway, I will say this: it was funny on the clip. I know it was about Ozzy, but watching George Bush try to pronounce Osborne, it was very
like,
Bush.
It's like nuclear. You think it's easy to say, but it's really not. Dan, thoughts on and reflections?
Yes, same as Sean. I like some of his music, and I remember it was one of the first reality TV shows that kind of caught the attention, and to see him playful with Sharon and just kind of muddling around the house and mumbling, it was hilarious.
All right, let's go to the day book. The main event at the White House, at least before the late afternoon, is the 1 o'clock briefing by Caroline Leavitt. The president himself has no public events until 4:35 when he heads over to the Mellon Auditorium, where he's delivering remarks on AI. And that's about an hour, and then he comes back. We'll come back to AI in just a minute, but let me just run through everything else. Don't know what the Veep is doing. Up on the Hill, Hakeem Jeffries and other leaders holding a news conference at 10:15. The Democratic side House is in at noon. 1 o'clock, the Sneaker Caucus hosts the 3rd annual Sneaker Day. Air Jordan designer Wilson Smith III speaks on a panel, followed by an award for best sneaker. You both are Hill rats. I don't know if even Sneaker Day existed back in your day, but Dan, what's the best special day on the Hill for you?
Well, when I was there, Seersucker Day was always
very popular,
very fun one.
Sean, it's the good one, but not the right answer. Sean, what's the best day on the Hill?
Hands down, Hot Dog Day.
Oh no! Also
Rayburn,
good one. No, ice cream.
Just to be clear, when you make no money,
ice cream day.
Now,
Ice cream day is fantastic. Ice cream day is fantastic because the variety of frozen confections offered boggles the mind.
Yeah, here's the problem.
Like
when you make $18,500 a day, the ice cream is nice, but having an actual lunch, the lines were better at hot dog day. So you could actually get into Rayburn Courtyard, go grab a hot dog. Ice cream day got backed up. So you really had to have a commitment there. It was later in the day, so you'd already eaten. But as a poor Hill staffer, having a free lunch always trumped everything else.
All right, you make a compelling case. All right, House Ways and Means are meeting with the U.S. Trade Rep Jamison Greer at 2. Al Green, Democrat congressman at 2, has a press conference today on his favorite topic, impeaching President Trump. And the House is expected to recess, also known as recess, at 4 o'clock today and not come back till after Labor Day because of Jeffrey Epstein. Russia and Ukraine, peace talks in Turkey today. Lots going on in Ukraine with this attempt to get rid of the ethics process. And in Iran, it's being reported they have a huge water shortage in Tehran and the surrounding metroplex, which seems to be a bit of a problem. All right, I said the big news of the day at the White House was the Caroline Leavitt briefing at 1, but in fact, about an hour ago, as was touted last night, Tulsi Gabbard released a new report. It's really an old report, but on the topic that is concerned of her and the president so much, this question, which I confess to you, I don't understand what they're saying, something having to do with the Obama and Biden administration. Here, from our friends at Newsmax, their best effort to explain to you what happened at 8 o'clock Eastern time this morning. Roll, our friends at Newsmax.
We start this morning with breaking news.
Yeah, I'm Charlotte McBride. You heard President Trump accuse former President Barack Obama of treason in the Oval Office yesterday. Well, now the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is dropping a bombshell report that informs that opinion.
Now, that report also forms the basis of the decision to refer the former President of the United States to the Justice Department for potential prosecution. Newsmax chief Washington correspondent James Rosen is live with us with the very latest.
Mark and Charlotte, good morning to you. To produce the 44-page report from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard that was unsealed just moments ago, the top of this hour, intelligence officials spent some 2,300 hours, mostly at the Central Intelligence Agency, reviewing the raw and finished intelligence that fed into the intelligence community's assessment back in 2017 that Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to win the 2016 election and interfered in it to achieve that purpose. Not so, the new report says. The new report finds the Russian president's asserted preference for the Trump-Pence ticket was based on only one classified data point, which was itself one scant, unclear, and unverifiable fragment of a sentence from a flawed report. The Kremlin's leaking of DNC emails was aimed, this report maintains, at undermining American democracy. Gabbard's team says Putin, quote, held back leaking.
All right. Sean, I've covered my share of Washington brouhahas. I'm open-minded about accusations, particularly from government officials, but I also bring an air of skepticism to such things. And this one confuses the crap out of me. What is Tulsi Gabbard alleging? Who is she saying did what that either did or might have violated the law?
There's what she's saying and what she's alluding to, and those are two separate things. So what she's saying is that intelligence officials manipulated the intelligence that showed the reality of what Russia's role was. She is alluding to the fact that Obama knew it and allowed it to be perpetrated by what he put out publicly and what he didn't.
And what was their motive?
Oh, just undermining President Trump and trying to undermine the credibility of his win in 2016.
Okay, Dan,
explain. I would actually use the word legitimacy. That was their goal was to undermine the legitimacy of the win.
Okay, Dan.
Happy days are here again. I love this. I mean, this is what swing voters hate about Donald Trump. This is absurd. I mean, they hacked Hillary Clinton's emails to undermine Hillary Clinton's campaign. They bought Facebook and YouTube ads to suppress the black vote. That is indisputable. I mean, I love it. Conspiracy
I think you've seen too many episodes of The Americans.
Yeah, bring it. You want to know what? If this is what we get to talk of, he's not talking about the big, beautiful bill. He's not talking about the real lives of real people. He is trying to relitigate 10 years ago like a temper tantrum 2-year-old. Like, I really did it. I really did it. This is awesome.
Okay.
So can I just
bring it?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to wait.
And by the way, wait, I want to add this. You woke up Barack Obama, which is awesome.
Okay, let me ask you.
Bring him into the game.
Let me ask you that, and then Sean,
Yep.
why the Obama statement correctly referenced the notion that they don't normally respond to anything
Yep.
President Trump does. So one school of thought says they responded because they don't want there to be public disinformation. Another school says, as Bill Clinton would say, only a scalded dog screams or yelps or whatever Bill Clinton says. Like, why did Barack Obama choose to respond to this?
I like to think he took his own medicine and said, start fighting. I mean, look, Trump smacked him around for 10 years, or 15. Go back to the birther movement. Obama took it. Michelle is still incensed that the party took it for 10 years while Trump smacked him around. If this gets Obama up to start, the only person who's ever effectively punched Trump in the face is Barack Obama at the White House Correspondents' Dinner when he mocked him to his face, and the whole crowd was laughing at Trump. So for me, bring it. Get Obama off the sidelines. I love this.
Sean.
So I'll go back to this. I don't necessarily agree with all of Dan's analysis, but I will agree with one part. Well, no, but this is the important thing. We just passed the most significant piece of legislation, probably. I mean, I'm just going, and this isn't trying to be hyperbolic, but I mean, I think at least Republican wise, and I could make a case. I'm just saying this off the top. So, but anyway, at least one of the most significant pieces that any president's ever passed in the first 6 months, whether you like it or not, the significance of it. And what bothers me is that we're not talking about a signature Republican issue that the base should be fired up about. They had a plan, at least they projected one, where they'd be fanning out around the country, talking about the benefits of this, helping members. I mean, look, I've said this forever. You guys heard this during election year. People vote because of how they feel viscerally about the economy or their personal safety. This bill did both. It secured the border. It put money back in people's pockets. It cut taxes. It stimulated the economy, blah, 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 blah. I loved it. And here we are talking about 10 years ago. And here's why I get upset about it, right? So one, is this a deflection on Epstein? Is that just all this is? It's trying to say, pivot from this. We throw out the MLK files. We'll throw this out. This is a personal issue to me. I spent countless hours in front of lawyers and paralegals going up and to be a witness, not a target, in front of Mueller. So if you have the goods that show that this was intentional, I actually really care about this issue on a personal level, because not just because of the hours and the dollars, but because we worked really hard to win in 2016. And the idea that if there's legitimate proof that they undermine the legitimacy of that win and weaponize them, then bring it. So what upsets me about this is the rollout again. It's the Epstein equivalent of binders. If you're going to come out and talk about this and roll it out, then don't throw out some crap on Newsmax and call it a day. Sit out there and say, here's the evidence. We got these guys dead to right. We're referring it to DOJ for a prosecution. But if you're going to get my hopes up that you finally got these guys and you come out by throwing out some, the willy-nilly stuff, that's not going to cut it.
And by the way, Sean,
couldn't agree more. Yeah,
just to add that the big beautiful bill is underwater, right? It's about a net negative 25 points. Republicans have been saying during August, with Trump's help, they were going to go home and sell this. If you're a Republican and you go home right now,
hold on, Paul, stop right there. Go ahead, Dan. Stop right there.
The first two questions you're likely going to get are, if you're a House member, are you going to vote to release all the Jeffrey Epstein files? And what do you make of this, now this other conspiracy theory? You're not going to get to the big, beautiful bill for the first 20 minutes because you're going to answer all this nonsense.
Right. All right. Let me say one more thing, and then we got to move on because we've used a lot of time. Happy to take people's questions in just a bit on this. Look at this is Tulsi Gabbard's tweet thread, beginning of her tweet thread about the release this morning, which again, as Dan said, it's a declassification of a report done by Devin Nunes, who's very close to President Trump, that he did for the House Intelligence Committee.
He's the CEO of Truth Social now.
Yeah. Look at the second paragraph. And I'll say one thing on each side of this. I still don't really understand what they're alleging, and I totally agree with Sean This is a crap way to roll something this serious out. But this paragraph, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people, working with their partners in the media to promote the lie in order to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump. Okay? That characterization, I don't know how it applies in this case, but that characterization applies to the 50 intelligence officers, many things that Adam Schiff alleged that proved to be false, and the media worked hand in glove with the Democrats in many instances, with the intelligence community on Capitol Hill and the Democratic intelligence community, including people close to Biden and Clinton. So you can't dismiss this out of hand, whatever it is, because the underlying dynamics that they say under that, you know, with the foundation for what they're alleging, those personalities, those dynamics, they happened. We know they happened. So maybe they happened in this case. All right, quickly on Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, but I mean, hold on a sec,
well,
Mark.
Yeah.
I got to say this. It is true the Russians interfered in our election to try to help Donald Trump.
Of course it is. Of course it is,
but that
Dan.
is not a conspiracy theory
But
to
Dan,
subvert the will of the
Dan,
election.
To invoke the phrase that you and Sean like so much, two things can be true at once. Russia tried to interfere in the election, and the Democrats...
And they did. And they did.
Well, yeah, they did. They tried to, and they did.
Yes,
and
correct.
and it's also true that the Democratic Intelligence Committee, working with their friends in the media, in some cases, used the intelligence process and their credibility and their access to information to try to keep Donald Trump from winning, and when he won, to try to destroy his presidency.
Well, they didn't try to keep, because he had won when most of this stuff came out. Did they try to say he wasn't legitimate? I mean, that's what the Mueller report was really about. And Mueller said, was he?
No, that's not what.
No,
right.
no,
What the Mueller report was about was whether or not there was collusion.
Collusion, exactly.
The bottom line is you go back
which
and look
would
at
have made him
GPS
illegitimate. Right.
Yeah,
That's what they were trying to do.
But again, you cannot look at Mr. Brennan or some of the people around Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and say that, and certainly Senator Schiff, you cannot look at them and say they have a record of pure, clean hands on publicly engaging in the use of their intelligence credibility to try to hurt Donald Trump politically. You just can't assert that, Dan.
No, you can't. Just like you can't assert this group in any way, shape, or form is in any way nonpartisan.
Correct. All correct. All right. So that's the stew. Now, I remembered there was something else to the Ozzy Osbourne thing, and two people sent it to me, and I looked it up. This is what we didn't have on the video, but it's important that I share. After the video ended that we showed, Ozzy pointed to his hair and said, "Mr. President, you should wear your hair like mine." And George Bush, underrated improv comedian, said, "Second term, Ozzy, second term." All right. Next topic is trade. So three big deals, or dealettes, as Sean might say, were consummated, including the very big one with Japan. And the administration is trying to create the dynamic that we long had understood they would, which is make an early. The later you make your deal, the better, the worse the terms are. On first glance, the Japanese deal looks very good for the United States, and I'll say again, no American president has gotten a trade deal like with Japan, and the only reason it exists is because they had a strategy and they stuck to it. Here is Scott Bessent on Morning Joe talking about the tariff deadline, 114.
And I think what we'll see on August 1st, President Trump has said that anyone who doesn't have a deal by August 1st will go back to the April 2nd reciprocal trade date, but that doesn't mean, or trade tariff level, but that doesn't mean we can't keep negotiating. And as a matter of fact, that may apply a bit more pressure as the rate gets ratcheted up.
In addition, Bessent was very positive about a possible some sort of deal with additional deal with China, and very positive, although if you listen to him closely and parse it, not definitive on the prospects that tariffs will raise consumer prices. Here he is on that, 112.
So just to put a fine point on this, Mr. Secretary, it's your belief, you're confident that consumers will not see higher prices because of these tariffs?
I am confident that the overall inflation numbers are going to remain very benign. We saw the biggest decrease in inflation in the past 4 years 2 months ago, and I think that there's no reason to expect that we are going to see a substantial pickup in the price level.
We will see. Treasury Secretary Scott.
All right, Sean, I'm a pretty close student, a longtime student of the U.S.-Japanese trade relationship. This appears to be one of the most robust opening of the Japanese market any president's ever gotten. How good is the Japan deal, and what happens next with the EU?
Oh, okay. So let's just make sure we put this in in context. Ishiba lost his parliamentary majority 3 days ago. They had him in a very difficult position. He's trying to cobble together a coalition, and he needed to get something done. So I think that there's a uniqueness to this deal, put it that way, in terms of they had some internal dynamics going on in Japan in terms of Ishiba's desire to get a working majority. So look, I've said this before, it's 3 years as an assistant U.S. trade rep. India, China are outside of China, Japan and India are the two most squirrely trading partners we have. So understanding what we got matters, which is an outline. As a win for the U.S., I would say that the default tariff across the board is 10%. So for them to get this 15 is a win for the United States that Japan agreed to it, because I would have, if I were in a stronger position in Japan, I would have said, we want what the UK got, and we want what we were told was the deal. But if you look at Indonesia and the Philippines, they're at 19. So here's the deal. Why this helped? So again, being positive, I think they got a higher deal. They got some carve-outs for some U.S. auto issues and sectoral issues. That's a huge issue. It puts them on a path going forward. And the bigger point to your issue is, if I were Europe, if I were the EU trade commissioner, I'd be a little scared right now, which is, oh, crap, we thought we were negotiating to 10. They just got 15 and 19. They're not going to so EU. If I were the EU, I'd call up today and say, I got it. Let's put the fluffy pharma language and the auto supply chain language in and call it a day. And then we'll go back to Brussels and take August off. That would be the smart move on the EU's part.
Dan, I don't think they'll call today or tomorrow, because tomorrow they're going to Beijing for their one-day meeting, which is now being cast as a very confrontation, not a celebration of the relationship, but a tough, hard-nosed discussion with Xi and others. What's your view of the Japan deal, and what's your view of where the EU is now?
Well, I think the Japan deal, I keep saying this, we have to see the details.
If it works out like this.
But I mean, every single deal, there's the headline, and then there becomes the reality.
We share that caution, but if the outlines of this get codified and these are the actual terms, what would you think of the deal?
Well, according to these terms, Japan got nothing. So if that's true, amen. But I have a hard time
they get access to the USA market. That's what they got. That's our leverage.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. To be determined if a lot of what Trump is saying is true, and Japan this morning didn't dispel any of it, so that's good news for us, then it's a huge win for the United States, and Donald Trump will deserve credit. Full stop. I don't know what it means for the Europeans. I really don't, because we hear they're close, then we hear they're not. We hear they're close, we hear they're ready in countermeasures. Germany saying we're getting ready for a long drawn out trade war. I don't know what the reality is, but if Japan is true and he can get something similar with Europe, it's great for America.
I will say this, knowing the political position that Ishiba is in right now, I think that he was I'll sign anything. And that's a very, we got to win, because I mean, look, regardless, who cares? A win's a win.
Right, exactly. Timing is everything.
But timing is everything, and this was huge. The only issue that the caveat is, if he doesn't pull off a winning coalition in the parliament, does a potential new PM come in and say, because this was all Ishiba campaigned on, was basically I'm the guy who can cut a deal. So if he can't maintain a coalition and a new PM comes in, does the new PM undercut the deal? That's the sort of little.
And what's the Japanese domestic reaction? Because as you know, Sean, every time trade deals get published, you have your domestic reaction, and countries kind of ours and everyone else starts kind of trying to make a few changes, and you're trying to just grease it to get it through. So we just have to see.
Yeah. All right. A couple more topics then to your questions, please. If you're new, particularly want in on the conversation, raise your hand. Not made huge Epstein developments. CNN unearthed some old video of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein at Trump's wedding to Marla Maples and at a Victoria's Secret fashion show. Here is a New York Post story on Maxwell 105. Their reporting says, and it's if you read the story, it's not as explosive as the headline might suggest, but people are still talking about it. The Justice Department seems like they're going to talk to her very soon. The Hill is trying very hard to get her up to the Hill with some sort of maybe use immunity. So just one or two things each. Dan, what happens next on the Maxwell story?
On the Maxwell story, I think
on the Maxwell
story.
Yeah.
I think she ultimately speaks, and it is unbelievable the House got shut down on this, and it's going to be right back there in September. I don't know why they didn't deal with this before they adjourned.
Not necessarily, because the facts could change significantly before then, and takes the heat off of the Republicans who want to vote with the Democrats. It could.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah. But it is. Sean, before you go, it's insane that the House had to adjourn over this. Insane. Sean.
So I had Will Chamberlain on the show last night from Article 3 Project and asked him a very similar question. And the thing that's interesting is that from a legal standpoint, his words, not mine, is that you would assume that she would have proffered some stuff prior to sentencing. You get in 20 years. So if you had something, you would have assumed that her lawyers, which by all accounts represented her well, would have had a proffer of some sort that would have said, hey, we got something to trade.
Unless she's saving it, she was saving it for a pardon.
So we're going to take a 20-year sentence and say, I hope Donald Trump wins, and then I can I mean, I get it. But his point was,
if the side, I'm sorry, but if the side of the ledger was, if I sing, there's a downside. Somebody might try to kill me, or open a can of worms, whatever. I'll go in and hope Trump wins, and then get a full pardon rather than 5-year reduced sentence.
Think, look, I can tell you, and maybe I'm just a wuss, but I wouldn't want to go to prison for 20 minutes. So the idea of a bank shot of like, hey, I'll take a 20-year sentence, hope that Donald Trump gets elected, hope that I can proffer up something else that would get me out on a pardon. I mean, and if you're wrong, you're doing 20 hard.
If what she has is significant, presumably it could threaten her life.
So like, look, all right. I again, that was my legal 2 cents, which I am completely unqualified to give. Here's my political sense, which is this is like, it's literally drip, drip, drip. I gave you my analysis a long time ago about how you snuff a crisis out. We are entering the 3rd week of talking about Jeffrey Epstein in light of a secure border, a big, beautiful bill getting passed, trade deals, foreign policy wins. And I'm like, get it over. Find out what you have, put it out. I think there is somewhat, at least from the people I talk to, consensus. The only thing that will solve this at some point, or at least mollify some of the, because no one ever, you could come out and say, this is every single thing that we have. And there is a percentage of people that will never be satisfied. Leaving them aside, go do the press conference. AG Bondi, Todd Blanche. I would get Harmeet Dillon. I'd get Ed Martin. I'd have every MAGA dude sitting at that thing and saying, here we all are, like MAGA unified. Here's everything we know. Here's how we're going to explain it. But you got to get this over with. I don't want to talk another day about Jeffrey Epstein. Either figure it out or move on.
Dan, anything else you want to say about Epstein?
No,
I
thought Sean did it really well.
All right. I want to talk about 2 groups of people who are navigating complex situations. And just, again, 1 sentence from each of you. 1 sentence. What's your advice to the navigators? What's your advice about how to navigate this? New York Times story today, 108. New York Times has been obsessed with this topic for a long time. And to some extent, rightfully so. Jim Rutenberg has written about it for years. The Trump-Murdoch relationship, not just over the last decade, but over the whole time they've known each other, is an incredible story. Murdoch Murdoch's like Xi, Netanyahu, and Putin. He's got almost all the leverage here until he doesn't. Trump versus Murdoch is an odd battle, I'd say old battle of the Titans. So the 2 news executives are having to navigate this. And the story talks about Fox in particular, Suzanne Scott, who's the CEO there, but also the editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, also is navigating this. So, Dan, if you were a high-paid consultant to those two news organizations, what was one piece of advice you would give them about how to navigate this Trump-Murdoch conflict?
Fox is going to, the Murdoch empire is going to have to be careful, because we just played clips that went to Newsmax. Tulsi was on Newsmax last night. They leaked the story in Newsmax today. So who's the beggar in this? Fox is the beggar to Trump. When the audience started leaving in 2020, they made a concerted effort to get that audience not to come back. So the history of this is MAGA follows Trump, not the other way around. So
right.
I think Fox has to be careful.
Interesting, but longer
And I
than
love
a
Fox.
sentence.
Let me just
Longer than a sentence. Sean, what would you tell Emma Tucker at the Journal, who's in an uncomfortable place, kicked out of the pool? They've not commented on being kicked out of the pool.
Well, they were kicked out of the overseas.
Yeah, they're kicked out of being in the pool on a trip.
Right. So I would compart. I mean, first of all, she has to check with her boss, Rupert Murdoch. I mean, that's the first and foremost thing. What are we doing? Because she cannot be an island. So that's the issue. Is where do you want me, boss? And then if you assume that he says you run a paper, let me deal with the consequences. Compartmentalize, but you have to understand where Murdoch is. Emma Tucker or Suzanne Scott can't do their jobs if they don't have clear guidance from their boss. That is 100%. The number one thing. And once they have that, and assuming that Rupert Murdoch says, I'll do my job, you do yours, then you compartmentalize. But I will just say this, respectfully, there's a big difference about what happened with the Arizona call politically at an election and Tulsi leaking a couple stories to Newsmax. That's not the future. Cable,
of course.
And I just say that because even on their best day, they're not even close to being at Fox. And so, I think if there was an effort like you saw over the next 5 days, an effort to do sit downs and whatever, I would buy into that a little bit more. But Newsmax does not even come close to having the capabilities of competing with Fox on their best day. So I think it can be a little bit of a screw you and a one-off, but it's not. I don't think that Fox ever sees that as a real threat. And I think that. Well, hold on. I think that's a big difference in my mind. I get it, and I think if there was a pattern, if by the end of next weekend we see sit down. 5 questions lead off the briefing, and then you go, okay, now that's a strategy to establish a dominance from that standpoint. And I would agree with you. One off here and there is a little bit of a screw you, maybe, but I don't think that on a capabilities level that they're worried yet, and that's the big difference. Right.
But they have to monitor that, right?
By the way, that's my. I will just say the more broadly important issue, Mark, to I think of what you're getting at is. It's funny, if you read any of Trump's books and talk about his divorces, a lot of the negotiations he's had in real estate, he compartmentalizes like no one I've ever seen before. And I saw this as a staffer, where he can be furious with you in 1 second, totally praise you the next, and never think that there's a cognitive disconnect between the two. And it's a hard thing to get used to. But he could call Rupert Murdoch up and be like, hey, I got 5 extra tickets to a premiere that we're showing at the White House Theater. Would you like to come down? And on the way out, serve him with papers and not think that that's a problem.
They were in the box at the soccer game together 2 weeks ago. And what Sean just said about Trump is incredibly important for you to understand. But it's also incredibly important to understand because it defines his relationship with Rupert. Rupert does stuff to Trump that other presidents would be like, that guy's dead to me. I'll never talk to him again. And then Trump will invite him to something. Just the way Trump is. People say he's vindictive, but he actually is like frighteningly forgiving. It's all situational. It's all transactional. All right. I said one sentence each. What I actually meant was one short essay each. Good answers. But here I'm going to hold you.
I'm learning from Sean.
Well, by the way, in college, I needed to do the opposite. They'd be like, that's a sentence. You needed a page.
Yeah. Last topic, and then your questions. New York State, New York City. Mike Lawler said today he's not running for governor. No. So it'll be Stefanik.
Just to be clear, Hochul. I think the White House said that Mike Lawler wasn't running for governor.
Mike Lawler opened his mouth and talked, and the voice you heard was the marionette strings being pulled. If you haven't looked at the poll that Wick did with me for Next Up and the discussion I had with John Podhoretz and David Burrell on Next Up, if you're interested in the mayor's race, I strongly recommend it to you. And I'll just say, one of the things we did in the poll is we tested on a series of attributes, the mayoral candidates and Donald Trump. And if you go read it, you'll see really interesting data comes out of asking people to compare Trump with the 4 major New York mayoral candidates.
By the way, I thought the other thing that was interesting is we've talked about, potential consolidation. And here's the thing that that jumped out at me because I read a bunch of the cross stuff. If you're Sliwa, it's weird. His floor is competitive. His ceiling is not.
Correct.
So he's going to say I can't drop out. I'm dead even with Cuomo, but in a head to head, he can't get there. And so I think that's what keeps him from any talk of potentially doing.
Yeah. You're going to see business leaders eventually say a vote for Sliwa is a vote for a socialist. And they're going to drive the vote either to Adams or Cuomo. And the poll suggests they should drive it to Cuomo because Adams' ceiling is just way too low. All right. By
the way, one other quick note before we get to it. We did the schedule. JD obviously in Nantucket yesterday. I think it's important. 3 million on that fundraiser yesterday. We talked about the disparity in the parties. This yesterday's fundraiser was huge, not just for the RNC coffers, another 3 million, but also for JD. These are all big donors. We've talked about this in the past. He is cultivating a personal network of high value donors, and also getting we've talked about the candidates being able to test their mettle. Like the idea of being able to go and play in basically a general election strategy of raising money at this level is not something that most vice presidents would ever have the opportunity to do. So this is big for the party, but it's also huge for JD Vance right now. He's getting swings at the plate that most VPs, most presidential candidates wouldn't get this early in spring training.
Totally agree. And the JD story matters, but Democrats have to close the gap on technology, fundraising, and voter registration. They have to, and they're not right now. And Vance is leading the way on some of this stuff. All right, here's the question. I wake up every morning waiting to see how much the left is going to pressure the 3 top elected New York Democrats, Schumer, Hochul, and Jeffries, to endorse Mamdani. By the way, when people hear me say it and you don't think I'm saying it right, it's my Maryland accent. I know exactly how to say his name, Mamdani. And they haven't endorsed yet. And the pressure from the left isn't very big yet. I'm surprised. I thought they'd be gearing up more to demand that those Democratic Party officials endorse the party nominee. So here's the question. It'd be a series of yes or no. Will they endorse Mamdani? Dan, Schumer, will he eventually endorse? Yes or no?
No.
Sean?
Yes.
Correct answer is yes. Jeffries, Dan, yes or no?
Nope.
Sean?
Weaselly, yes.
The correct answer is no. Hochul, Dan?
Nope.
Sean?
No.
Correct answer is no. You both got 2
Can
right.
I just say though, Mark, to all of that? Yes. The question is polling after Labor Day. If Mamdani is up, they all will endorse because they're going to have to. But if he's not, I think they say Mamdani won't punish me. Cuomo is not going to be fun to deal with.
Okay. All right, everybody.
By the way, just for the record, when I said weasel, yes, Hakeem Jeffries will say something to the effect of, I believe that he adds benefit to the city. And so it's going to be in the eye of the beholder whether that's an endorsement or not. I mean, that's just so I'm clear that it's not going to be a traditional, I believe he'll be the best candidate, and I look forward to standing shoulder to shoulder like a Mike Pence endorsement. This will be weasel.
Yeah. All right. Stan, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind for Sean and Dan.
Hey, I'm here in Conroe, Texas, and my question has to do with Texas and the Senate race here and about John Cornyn. The Democrats may have their best chance of picking off a Texas Senate seat if Attorney General Paxton defeats John Cornyn in the primary. And right now, Real Clear Politics has Cornyn down by almost 15 points to Paxton. And so my question is, and by the way, Paxton comes up with a lot of potential future political baggage besides what he already has. Yeah. He's got a pending divorce going on. So my question is, do you think that Cornyn might drop out before the March primary if he sees his chances are nil and none in order to let someone like a Congressman Wesley Hunt or some other candidate try to save the seat for the GOP.
Sean.
Boy, it's interesting.
I actually, Stan, I mean, I'm thinking as you're saying, I can't possibly fathom John Cornyn just saying he's got way too much money in the bank. He's got a lot of longtime
He
consultants.
doesn't anymore, Sean. His cash on hand's burning down fast.
Right. But to that, I mean, this is leading to the second point, which is I'm just going to tell you a stark reality is there's a lot of people who make a lot of money off him running. And those are the people that you're relying on to be honest with you. And it's
I see nothing in the body language that suggests he's going to get out.
Well, that's why I have a hard time thinking John Thune and any of these guys are going to say, and look, Cory Gardner and the Senate Leadership Fund is all in behind him. So he knows that he has some super PAC support behind him. And I think, considering his past, not just in the Senate, but prior to that, there's a belief that only I can keep this seat. I don't share that entirely yet, but so I think that argument doesn't play out, but I think he believes that. So
Dan.
for those reasons, I say no.
I think the other thing that's a challenge is it's hard to see Trump. I mean, because the 800-pound gorilla is Trump. And I can't see Trump endorsing, let's say, a House member against Paxton, who's been such a good foot soldier for him, to kind of, because the consultant class in DC says Paxton can't win. And so you would need a dynamic where Trump would say, kind of, Cornyn, you're out, you're in, we're going to save the seat.
Yeah.
We may lose the Senate. I don't think he's there.
By the way, that Dan brought this up, and I, without saying it, and I think this is a very important point. If Wesley Hunt decides to get in the race, I think that changes the dynamic for a ton of reasons, and it makes a three-way race that probably makes Cornyn definitely stay in more because you come with a plurality, not a majority. But then to your point, Dan, I think this puts Trump in an awkward position. He's got a lot of pressure on him to at least stay out. I don't think he'll ever endorse John Cornyn. But then how do you choose among Paxton, who he might really like, but is, got some personal baggage, and Wesley Hunt, who's done a fantastic job in the House. So that dynamic, I think, it will be very interesting if Wesley Hunt does try to jump in.
You think Hunt would jump in without Trump's endorsement?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll be laughed at far and wide, but I think Trump might endorse the incumbent. Dan.
And by the way, watch the redistricting.
By the way, again, nothing personal to John Cornyn, but if Trump were to endorse him, I think that there would be questions posed to the White House medical unit about his fitness for office. I
understand. 25th Amendment. Chad, welcome in. Drive safely. Tell folks who don't know where you are, who makes your sunglasses.
People, by the way, are asking, will Vance endorse?
What's on your mind?
No, JD will not endorse anybody that he's...
The chat is asking, so.
Yeah. Chad, welcome in. Sunglasses location, off and on, so talk fast.
Yeah, sunglasses were the cheapest I could find. I'm a frugal person. Calling from Salem, Oregon, and I've heard the thought kind of kicked around a few times on what would, and I guess just want your guys' reflection, what would suffice regarding the Epstein matter. And I think for myself as an independent voter, really it comes down to transparency, accountability, and just being honest. And if any of us were implicated in any of these, matters, it would be a very vigorous investigation. There would be a chain of custody, and they would, lay out, hey, we have 10,000 hours of video. We went through and took, headshots of those who are perpetrators, obviously protecting the victims. And because we're not seeing that type of transparency, myself coming from a generation served in Iraq, and just a lot of lack of trust for governmental institutions, and not having that type of thoroughness is really, I think, what is really the big problem here.
Dan.
Yeah, Chad, I agree with you. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. And I find it remarkable that the House literally shut down and is adjourning to prevent this bill, which is they know is bipartisan, they know will pass overwhelmingly, from ever coming to the floor. I mean, you just start to say to yourself, why is everyone so adamant about blocking this? Why?
Yeah. Look, first, Chad, thanks for your service. Appreciate it. Everything you've done. What I will say is I agree. I mean, the problem is that they're doing you're being transparent on everything else. You're putting the MLK files out. You put a bunch of JFK out there. You're talking about releasing and declassifying all this 2016 intel, and then you're like, but on this thing, there's nothing to see here. It doesn't like it's like which one of these is in a bicycle when you do the little Captiva thing in the morning, or it just doesn't fit the pattern, and that's been very on brand for President Trump and his team is to be open and transparent and accountable, and that's the problem with this. As I said, I just get it over with, but you're creating a bigger problem because now it's drip, drip, drip.
Yeah. Can I ask a quick follow-up?
If it's about baklava, yes.
One of my favorite foods.
Just had an incredible piece. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I do recall President Trump mentioning a few times how he, quote unquote, could have gone after Hillary Clinton legally and felt that it wasn't the best thing for the country. And I've reflected on that a few times and thought to myself, and this is one of the reasons why I feel like the recent comments about Barack Obama is more of a distraction than anything else, that if that is his mindset, that it's not, quote unquote, within the country's best interest, would he even go after anybody who is, has any influence or the elites in the first place, even if they had the evidence to do so? It brings some serious doubts into my mind.
His perception about what it's in the country's best interest evolves. And I'll say, it seems pretty clear to me, and I key off what he's doing with Adam Schiff for this as much as anything else. I think he feels aggrieved that federal and local law enforcement tried to put him in prison for things that even liberal legal scholars, in almost every case, some say the Florida case was legit, were bullshit cases. So I think maybe I'm stating something so obvious I should be quoted by Heather Cox Richardson, but I think he wants to put these people in prison now, or at least make them rack up millions of dollars in legal bills and to be distracted because he has a different view of the public interest. He doesn't think it's fair what happened to him, and now it's payback time for those people. I don't know, maybe that's too obvious to say, but that seems to me to be what's happening. Dan?
He's not going after Hillary Clinton because there's nothing to go after her on. He's not going to go after Barack Obama because there's nothing to go after on. It's red meat to the base, as Sean said. Go look at the shiny red ball over here, over here. Let me feed you guys. It's nonsense.
Well, go read Michael Caputo's thread on Twitter to take off of what Mark said. For a lot of people who believe that you bankrupted people, you ruined people's lives off stuff that you knowingly were aware was not true, and you created a situation. You sent 51 people out to lie to the American people using government-backed security clearances. Watching some people have to squirm a little and deal with the same stuff, I get it. I think there's a lot of people in my camp that believe, you know what, it's your turn in the barrel, bro.
John, if you're going to tell me that Hillary Clinton and her people in the 90s didn't go through the barrel, they're the definition of the barrel.
No, but that's
my
right.
My predecessor for Hillary Clinton running her finance operation spent $1.5 million on legal bills, and it was and he won. God bless David.
Who was that?
David Rosen. He dug in.
Rosen.
He didn't pay it off for a decade. The Clinton people are well aware, with all due respect to the former speaker who comes on here, cut the crap telling me that this is all a recent thing. Democrats have gone through this for years.
It's not a recent thing, Dan, but what I always advocate is stop eye for an eye. Stop doing it.
Okay, so then, Mark, so then tell Trump to just cut the crap.
Yeah, I would ask him to not bankrupt people, but your party, and again, I'm being critical of both parties here, but you just indignantly raised it. Your party cheerleaded 4 prosecutions, 3 of which at least were bullshit.
I'd say two were bullshit, and I've said that publicly numerous times.
Well,
I don't think the Georgia case was bullshit.
Well, it was a novel legal. it was a novel legal theory, and was brought to try to keep Trump from winning.
Well, hold on. he literally on tape called Georgia and said, "Find me votes," and he gave a specific number.
We're not going to relitigate it. I can say it should have put him in prison. I could say it was innocuous. But what I can also say is it was brought to hurt him politically. It was not a search for justice.
Well, no, Georgia wasn't. The other two were. I agree. The other two were. Totally agree.
Your party sat back and tried to kick him off the ballot, tried to send him to prison. I'm not saying what he's doing now is good. I don't like it. But what I'm saying is when one side says, how dare he do this? Because we were already bankrupted back in the.
I didn't say how dare he do it. I just said it's ridiculous. That's all.
Well, all right. But I have sympathy. I know many friends like you do who were in no position to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for legal bills.
Yep.
But the solution is not whoever gets in power does it another round. The solution is to cut it out.
That's what I'm saying.
Sean.
I would just say I don't know all of the circumstances around the Hillary stuff for his team, but I think what happened last cycle took it to an all new level. You went beyond Mueller and then went after weaponized things in a way that had never been happened before, creating fake charges past the statute of limitations, combining multiple misdemeanors to create a fake felony, instructing jurors that they don't actually need to have a crime. I mean,
and we paid a huge price. I agree with you. We paid a huge price for it.
Right. Again, I think
we did.
The escalation of what has happened is gone beyond bankrupting people and ruining people's lives. But the reason I say this to Chad is to explain that there are a lot of people whose lives again, I don't know Mr. Rosen or the issues that he went through, but the net for Mueller for Jan 6 went so far and wide to suck in a lot of people who were bystanders in many cases, who weren't culpable of anything in the Mueller stuff or whatever, that it took it to a level that had never been seen before.
Well, I mean, I see people in the chat saying this, and I have a lot of friends. Benghazi, the entire you had members of Congress saying we are trying to stop Hillary Clinton from winning the presidency. That's it. On the record, on a certain cable network, over and over again. It's all we're trying to do.
All right. Chad, thank you for opening this giant can of worms. History will little remember anything we said, but it's all super important. So thank you very much. Grateful to you. All right. We'll get to what Sean has tonight and what else is on two-way in a moment. But first, Meghan McCain has an extraordinary interview today. Meghan is either under the weather or on assignment. So I won't say which, but her interview with Gisele Fetterman airs later today. And joining us now to talk about the interview is our colleague and Meghan's colleague, Ashley. Did you come up? Ashley, welcome. Thank you for being here. Tell everybody a little bit behind the scenes of the shooting of this interview. Where did it take place? Why did Mrs. Fetterman agree to do it? And just preview it a little bit, and then you can throw to the clip.
Sure. Well, I think the biggest behind the scenes story is that our flight got canceled and Meghan and I had to take a road trip to Pittsburgh. So that was exciting.
Because it was pouring rain. It was like a huge thunderstorm.
The entire East Coast.
Flights canceled and roads closed, and somehow you got there just in time.
We did. So yes, we went to Braddock, which is actually, I'd never even been to Pittsburgh. The whole area is beautiful. Mrs. Fetterman was extremely welcoming, extremely down to earth, had us in her home, and really just a fascinating woman. I think you'll find a big through line of the interview. She's really distinguishing herself as an individual apart from being a senator's wife. She's very philanthropic. She has a lot of impact in the community. She runs a free store there where folks can go and get free groceries and free items. She's a volunteer firefighter, which was an exciting factoid. Talk to us about fighting fires. I think people will find this is a rare kind of look at her life and how she's raising her family and how she sort of deals with being in the spotlight and all the pressures and scrutiny that comes from that. So it was great. Great interview.
So here's my best Johnny Carson. I think you have a clip. I think you brought a clip, right?
I have a clip. I'd be happy to show it.
Set this up for us. Set up the clip.
So Megan asked her whether she had any ambitions to run for office, which I won't spoil the clip, but she answers that question, and then follows that up with whether her husband plans has any bigger ambitions in running for office, running for president. So,
all right,
let's play it.
Hold on. Get the audio up, please.
I mean, that's a question for him.
Fair.
But I certainly wouldn't be supportive of
do you, it seems like you have no interest in running for office.
Never.
Yeah. Why do you think people always want to put that on you? I read your article in Elle magazine about like the stereotype of the powerful woman. Why do you think people
It
are
was so bizarre. I remember it was like I was carving to be the center, and I mean, I don't know. Again, it's clicks. You know, I have never told anyone in my entire life that I would run for office or had any desire to. You couldn't pay me to run for office, but that was the running news for months.
Also, same, by the way. Like,
it's so strange. I mean, I don't know, and now it makes me so. I feel for really famous people, like celebrities, because I think of all the things I've read about them. I don't believe anything now because it's probably not true either.
Ashley, it's an incredible interview. Congratulations to you and Megan and everybody else who worked on it. And grateful to you for bringing us the clip and for stepping in for Megan. And everybody should tune in at noon Eastern time, the regular Citizen McCain time period. It's a recorded interview. There are questions from the two-way community, so you'll be represented.
Yes.
But urge you to tune in at noon Eastern and watch it. And of course, if you miss it live at noon as it debuts and premieres, you can watch it on demand. Ashley, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, what do you have tonight?
John Solomon of Just the News joins us to break down all of what's going on. And then obviously, I think there's a lot. John's background is in investigation, so there's a lot that we'll break down with him regarding this DNI stuff with Tulsi, Epstein, but then also obviously his background being the former bureau chief in Washington, the Associated Press, the Washington Times, et cetera. I think I want to get it. We're going to talk, I think, a lot about the media, the settlements, where we are in terms of how the White House is dealing with it. So John Solomon tonight at 6.
All right. Two-way tonight, still coming together in terms of the whole show. Of course, we'll have the full news roundup of everything that's happened between the end of this show and that show, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Sean, my guest, Elizabeth Pipko. Do you know Elizabeth Pipko?
She was on the campaign with us in 2016. She is very passionate about Israel. So I do know Elizabeth fairly well. She's been on my show before. And she does a bit of modeling as well. Actually not a bit. I shouldn't even downplay it. She's a very accomplished model.
All right.
So
Dan, you don't know Elizabeth Pipko, I bet.
I do not.
All right, let's play this game, Dan. I'm going to read. I'm going to say and read, but some say, some read items that may or may not be in her Twitter profile. Okay, and you tell me yes or no. Is this in her Twitter profile? Ready?
Yep.
All right, and some of them we've already spoiled it. Model.
Yes.
Author.
Yes.
Vegetarian.
Yes.
No. Activist.
Yes. Of what?
Okay. Just activist.
Yeah,
yes. Anxious human.
No.
Yes. Yes. Anxious human. Proud Jew.
Well, yes, if she's passionate on Israel. Yep.
Proud American.
Yes.
Yes. Model, author, activist, anxious human, proud Jew, proud American, Sean Spicer associate Elizabeth Pipko will be amongst my guests at 6 o'clock tonight on Two-Way Tonight. And then right after that, Bridget Fetterman is doing her program Real America Tonight on artificial intelligence. Here's a preview of that.
Are you worried about AI? Do you think it will affect your job? Has it already affected your job? If not, do you think it will take your job? Are you worried it will become sentient and wipe out humanity? Whatever your concerns about AI, or are you pro-AI, we want to talk about them. We want to hear from you. There's a job bloodbath coming thanks to AI, and it seems like no one is talking about it, and if they are, no politicians have capitalized on talking about it, so we're going to. We want to hear from you. Join me, Bridget Fetterman, on Real America, Wednesday, July 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. We will be live discussing this. You can register to join the conversation at twoway.tv/Bridget Zoom, or you can simply watch the episode at Real America Fetterman on YouTube.
All right, so your homework, watch Sean, watch me, watch Bridget, and watch and Megan, of course, and then watch the three of us in 23 hours right back here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being part of the two-way community. Thank you for your service to America. Peace, love, understanding. The morning meeting out. Goodbye.